I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
And hello again. Welcome back to another day and another Muscle in the Morning. I'm Tyler Shore. Let's get right into it. It's Friday, and we're all fired up to get our weekend started. But here's a word to the wise. Try to stay clear of Nathan Asha, because right now he's a man on a mission. According to the latest report from Nathan's camp, right now his weight is hovering somewhere close to 300 pounds. And he is absolutely planning to step back on a bodybuilding stage again in 2023. Which means the rest of the Open has officially been put on notice. After he suffered that bicep tear last year, there was a contingent of people who were saying that Nathan's days as a top-level Olympia competitor were over. And that must have pissed him off, because he's been training with a giant chip on his shoulder lately. When he was firing on all cylinders before the injury, he was absolutely crushing some of the most talented names in all of bodybuilding. So, if we get an improved version of that guy back, with an attitude to boot, people might want to choose their shows wisely, because he won't be mincing any words on his way to the winner's circle. Apparently people say that Chicago is one of the most beautiful cities in the country to visit during the summertime. So, if you're already on the fence about whether or not you should book a midsummer getaway to get out there and see it for yourself, this update might end up being your tipping point, because Blessing Awadibu has been confirmed to bring his talents to the Windy City. Right now, I believe we're right around 16 weeks out to the day from kicking off the action here, which means that Blessing is still in the very early stages of his prep. And with the amount of size that he put on during the off-season, it shouldn't be too long before we start to see some major changes in his physique. With the new qualification system, he'll need to secure a win at some point if he wants to earn his Olympia invite. And this might be the place to do it, because you'd imagine that shows are only going to get more competitive the closer we get to November. But if he gets back to the level of conditioning that he had during those early parts of last season, he's going to be dangerous out there, because all that new muscle will be on full display. If you didn't catch yesterday's Muscle in the Morning, you need to check that out ASAP as soon as we wrap here, because we had a few major updates for the 2023 season that you don't want to miss, including an announcement that Charles Griffin started his prep to potentially compete in the Cal Pro. But if Charles does decide to push his chips to the table there to come back and defend his title, he might have his hands full, because Burton looks like he's about to bring the heat to the West Coast. By all accounts, Tonio put together another successful offseason, and he's heading into his second year as a full-time Open competitor, ready to take another massive step forward. And if he can go toe-to-toe with a guy like Charles, who's probably outweighing him by at least 20 pounds on stage, that's going to go a long way toward establishing the sort of momentum he needs to turn 2023 into another career year. And how about this one for a final update of the week? Recently, there's been some rumors circulating around the Bodybuilding Hall of Famer, icon, and 4 times Mr. Olympia, Cutler, that says he's considering making a comeback to compete at this year's Masters Olympia. Even now, almost a decade or so into retirement, Jay is still in incredible shape, and that doesn't really seem to be dealing with some of the nagging injuries that so many guys who have been at that level seem to deal with at this stage in their life. And that almost feels like a miracle in and of itself. But the real kicker here seems to be the fact that Jay has openly talked about the desire to compete one more time, several times on his podcast, which leads you to believe he would be open to the idea for the right price. And when you take into account that he's one of the most strategic thinkers that we've ever had in bodybuilding, this could very well be one of those there's smoke, there's fire situations. So if this were to end up materializing, it could end up being one of the biggest storylines of the season, because there are a few athletes in the history of bodybuilding who can move the needle quite like Jay. And that does it yet again for another Muscle in the Morning. Y'all have a great weekend. We're going to see you here next time.